What's going on, y'all? It is Oren Webb, the EI guy, back for another episode of Respond versus React. And I'm joined by my co-host, Reggie Tremue. What's going on, Reggie? How you doing today?
What's up, y'all? What's going on, Oren?
So we have a number of pieces of content here for you today that are, again, questionable. Some from our favorite show to kind of get some content from, which is Pop the Balloon, right? Pop the Balloon is full of low EQ moments. And there are, a lot of low EQ content littered throughout Reels, right? Throughout Instagram. And we also want to examine Mel Robbins' let them theory, right? This woman is very popular. She is pushing almost 10 million followers on the gram, north of, I don't even know how many on TikTok. I imagine her collective audience is north of 20 million. And I think there's a reason why, right? She provides some level of value, but I am curious if Reggie is going to respond to react. Are you going to respond to react to the let them theory? So we're going to dive into that. Let's jump right into it. We're actually going to talk about Mel Robbins' let them theory. Reggie, if you were explaining let them theory to me as if I was a mailman, what would you say? What is let them theory?
So it is essentially a mindset shift focused on, in a way, just like relinquishing your control over the actions and opinions of others and redirecting that energy toward what you can control.
If the person that you're really attracted to is not interested in a commitment, let them. If your kids do not want to get up and go to that thing with you this week, let them. So much time and energy is wasted on forcing other people to match your expectations. And the truth is, if somebody, especially somebody you're dating or who's a friend or somebody you're trying to partner with in business, if they're not showing up how you need them to show up, do not try to force them to change. Let them be themselves because they are revealing who they are to you. Just let them. And then you get to choose what you do next. The let them theory.
Okay. Kind of sounds like Stoicism a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. In a way.
Yeah. Okay. So I imagine that let them theory obviously is a very popular phrase, a very popular kind of framework that Mel Robbins is pushing out every day into the universe. But are there any drawbacks to it? Like, should we respond and react? Like, how do you feel about this, Reggie? Like, do you just let them, you let people in your life just do what they want to you, or?
Nah. I was gonna say, in my opinion, I really feel that the let them theory promotes victim mindsets. And
hold on. Wait, you're saying that it's possible that letting them promotes being a victim?
Yes.
Okay, break it down for me.
So, as I learned from you in outsmarting your emotions in that program, one of the books that you reference is Crucial Conversations. And within Crucial Conversations, it discusses the clever stories that we tell ourselves in, just in various situations that, we're either emotionally uncomfortable or you just might be emotionally triggered.
Mm-hmm.
And three of the main clever stories we tell ourselves when we're in that state of mind or in that emotional state are villain stories, victim stories, and helpless stories. So to me, what the let them theory sounds like is that it's just fueling those victim mindsets that you can continue to perpetuate in all types of situations that that you might find yourself in. Just kind of take it a step further. It could lead you to remaining in your victim mindset longer than you really should. So if you just keep, addressing everything with let them, then you aren't really doing anything to improve yourself or to even improve or to even learn from the situation so that you don't let them do it again.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought this up. I think that there is a sense of backlash towards trying to control things in your life, right? I think the let them theory has emerged from this idea of you don't control other people, you don't control what happens outside of self, therefore let them. I don't know if that captures the entirety of the situation, because in a community, in a group, yes, you don't 100% control someone else, but you absolutely influence them and they influence you back, right? I mean, that's the basis of a relationship, right? So if I am experiencing something like bullying, or if I'm being disrespected verbally, right? The let them theory don't make sense in that context. So let's steel man let them theory real quick. You know, for my debate folks out there to understand steel manning, right? Steel man the damn theory. Where should one actually apply let them theory though? Like where is it of value in your life? Like what context?
Damn, my bad, man. Gotta have a brain fart.
Ricky don't know, right? Like, I don't fucking know. I don't know when I should apply this shit.
My bad. I'll have to cut that out.
We might keep it. Who knows? We'll see. Yeah, but let's think about it.
I was like, I was about to ask, like, what's steel man? I never even heard of that. So that's where my mind was going.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I mean, just off the cuff, you know, I would say before I discovered emotional intelligence, I was actually pretty into Marcus Aurelius's Stoicism, right? I thought it was really profound. As it was a philosophical framework for, you know, being able to not let your emotions dictate, you know, your life really. And so part of it was about like letting go of disruptive emotions, and just kind of flowing with the universe, right? Just flowing with essentially like Stoicism came down to it is what it is, man. It is what it is. And I remember in college, I used to say, it is what it is. It is what it is. But it is what it is only one part of being emotionally intelligent, right? There is some value to the let them kind of like, you know, releasing control that you think you have over other people. It's going to lower your stress. You might not be as anxious, which I think that's what Mel is about, right? Mel's like trying to help people not be as stressed out, not be as anxious, and like help them maybe get some motivation, you know, via her mindset, her content to like actually go out and like make some things happen, right? So in that sense, I understand the popularity around let them theory. I don't think it makes sense in a situation where there is a lot of strong emotions, conflict. Like let them theory does not make any sense in a conflict at all.
Right. Yeah. Relationship management.
Yeah. And it's to me, it is absent of how to manage a relationship.
Yep.
Right. So if anything, I think if I'm thinking about the 4 areas of emotional intelligence, right? The self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, and relationship management.
Yep.
The let them theory would probably align best with the self-awareness and self-regulation piece.
Yeah.
If I'm able to detach myself from what's happening external of me, I am in a better position to regulate my body budget. I'm in a better position to regulate how I feel about what's going on and not let what's going on, you know, necessarily dictate how I feel.
Right. I got you.
Yeah. So in that sense, yeah. What do you think? What's going on through your mind as I share that?
I like that perspective, that alternative perspective on it. And I think, yeah, that's the beauty of this podcast, is for us to have that dialogue, to really just approach topics and, I guess, messaging from multiple angles, as opposed to only viewing it kind of like with your blinders on. Which is, you know, what we're aiming to, you know, educate people on ultimately, is like, hey, take some of this stuff with a grain of salt, but then also take it a step further and apply it properly, as opposed to just it and running with it, you know, because, you know, like we said previously, it could just do more harm than good if you just kind of take it at face value and not really, you know, put on your thinking cap, you know, about it, and really see how in this case, since we are EQ driven, to see it from all 4 of those different quadrants of emotional intelligence.
Yeah. And I do want to come back to your spicy comment, your spicy take around how let them promotes a victim mindset. I want to add one piece to that. If someone is in a conflict, the let them theory promotes being a victim. If you're not in a conflict, like let them totally, I get it.
Yeah.
If you're in a conflict, it does not make any sense, in my opinion. Right. Because like if my wife was crashing out on me, right? And I just say, oh, let her crash out. No. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, like, I'm not just going to be like, is what it is. And just kind of turn a blind eye. What that turns to, I think that can lead to like emotional neglect, right? Numbing, right? And just, detaching, right? So I think part of being in a relationship is a dance between attaching and detaching, right? But let them, I think, moves too far to the absolute detachment kind of mindset. And it can leave you feeling like emotionally numb and not really actually taking steps to change your situation if you're in a conflict. All right. All right, Mel. Hey, if you see these clips, Mel, we do not think you're low EQ. No. We do not think you're high EQ. We're not making any judgment on you as a person, but we are judging your ideas. That's right. We're judging your ideas. And again, just as for folks, if you're new here for the Respond vs. React pod, make sure you subscribe to learn whether or not the popular, mental health content around improving your mind, improving your life, whether it is of high EQ caliber or if it's low EQ. Okay. Our goal is to help you avoid low EQ advice. That way you don't live a low EQ life. If you get as simple as that, right? Right. If we share with you, that high EQ advice, validate it and stamp it, right? If it's valid, apply it and your life will definitely get better. All right. So I think the next two ones are definitely low EQ. So let's go to the Pop the Balloon. Arlette, the host of Pop the Balloon. Shout out to her. Really rolling on YouTube. Great series. But I will say, I think the community has been questioning the outcomes, right, of Pop the Balloon, right? How many relationships are actually being born out of this experience? Who knows? Arlette's just making an entertaining show. She's making money. She's getting attention. I don't know. Maybe, she facilitates the experience. It's on the people that are there to actually get in a relationship. So I don't think this has anything to do with the, I don't think she shapes the outcome. I don't think that she is responsible for the outcome. Let me say that. She can influence it a little bit, but that's a whole nother thing. Okay. Reggie, what's this clip, man? Tell us about it. Or give us like a quick read, because we are going to share, this clip, in our finished edit.
Yep. So like you said, it's another Pop the Balloon clip from one of Arlette's episodes. And essentially in this clip, it is a gentleman and a young woman. And essentially there's there's some conflict going on between them. There's some there's some conflict, differing opposing views of each other. One felt one way about themselves and the other felt another way about her. Yeah. And she's trying to tell him, no, I'm not. He's trying to tell her, yeah, you are. Okay. So
gotcha.
So that's essentially the rundown on it. Like you said, we'll show the clip.
This is Dr. Elam. I'm 38 years old, and I popped my balloon after listening to you.
Okay, damn. Okay.
I think humility and integrity is something that takes a lot of work to acquire, and it doesn't seem like you've done that work yet.
No? Okay.
Have you had therapy before?
No, you want to be my therapist? Okay, sure. So you think I need therapy?
I know you need therapy.
Okay.
I think we all need therapy, but it
Shit,
takes a
okay.
certain level of humility to admit it. And if you can't admit it, then, well, you definitely need therapy.
Okay.
And why do you think she? I know you said everyone needs it, but why are you telling her specifically that you think she needs it?
Well, I think we're all giving a bit of constructive criticism, and it seems like you're taking it harshly, which means you have a level of insecurity that needs to be talked with a third party.
Okay. I think you're too into that because I don't need therapy. I'm fine. I'm not insecure. I'm very secure with myself, but that's your opinion, and it's okay.
Thank you for proving my point.
I feel like sometimes men, like when you're too confident, they think like it's a problem for them, and
It's
fine.
okay to be insecure.
But I'm
it's
not.
okay.
So you don't know me. You just see me 2 seconds ago.
Look, insecurity is something we all struggle with.
Okay.
And the fact that you can't admit that means that you haven't been able to work past it.
Okay.
And you're already proving to me that it's going to take work to communicate with you because you're not listening to me.
Wow. Okay. I have a lot to say about this clip. First off, okay, I think that the gentleman said, yes, you could benefit from therapy. Many people can benefit from therapy. I think there's some truth to that. I think many people would agree that if you have someone you could go to, a third party, to discuss the plights of your life, the challenges you're navigating currently, and provide you some recommendations of how to navigate that, how to manage your mind through those experiences, or to help you unpack your past, that's pretty valuable, right? However, this man continues to then go on to say that he then projects his idea of insecurity onto this woman. Well, this lady, I don't know who you are, but way to stay in there, right? Shout out to our resilient Black women who stand in the face of having emotions projected onto them and to then be experiencing condescension, right? This guy was condescending. He said, "You proved my point." Whoa. Why are you on a show trying to prove a point? Right? I thought the whole point of the show was to find a relationship, not prove points. Sounds like this guy likes to be right. Right? This guy has a mindset around I got to be right. Right? And if I'm not right, it's a kind of a right as might kind of situation. Additionally, I would say, if we were to stretch this out, this individual is definitely demonstrating his low emotional intelligence. Now, here's the thing. Going to therapy does not automatically make you high emotional intelligence. It does not.
At all.
Emotional intelligence is, again, a skill, right? Just because you went to the gym and shot the basketball, 10 times in a year, right? I'm equivalating, or I'm making equivalent shooting the basketball, shooting some free throws to a therapy session. That does not make you 100% or 90% free throw shooter, right? In a game, in game time experiences. So this guy is making it seem like, oh, I went to therapy, so I'm all high and mighty, like I'm the greatest, right? I'm the best, right? And being a high emotional intelligence means that you are taking action to develop your skill, and you're doing it in game time moments. This guy was on YouTube, right? Big audience, and in a game time moment, he demonstrated his low emotional intelligence by condescending her, and then second, by projecting how he feels onto her, right? He was projecting insecurity onto this lady. She even then said, I don't need therapy. I feel secure. Okay. If that's what she believes, that's fine. But for you to say, well, you proved my point, like you are insecure. He does not know that. He does not know that. No one knows how you truly feel except yourself. Okay. So my guy was low EQ. So
flat out.
Yeah. Good luck to him. I hope that he finds someone that is prepared to navigate his low EQ behavior. I will say though, for a moment, I think that when you're trying to be when you're working on your emotional intelligence and you're interacting with someone that also is struggling with low emotional intelligence, you want to be mindful that you don't come across like arrogant and like share that like you have all this like great wisdom and knowledge because you went to therapy. But I think it's important to remain curious, right? And to inquire. If there's one skill that one can derive from therapy, and it's being inquisitive, inquiring about your emotional state, inquiring about how you're doing, If you're not inquiring, right? If you're not asking questions, you're not initiating meaningful learning.
Right.
So, and to me, being inquisitive, being curious is a necessity, a necessary part of high EQ behavior.
Yep. And just to piggyback on that, you're right. It can, and it's also just versatile too. Being curious, being inquisitive is versatile. Not only for your inner world, being curious, as you said, what's going on with me right now? Why do I feel this way? What's the root of this? What about what just happened triggered me? What was the stimulus in my environment? Right. But then also taking it a step further, or taking it to another step of, why is this person reacting in this way? Why are they responding in that way? What did I say that triggered them? What didn't I say that triggered them? So yeah, I think it just has so much versatility to just be curious.
Yeah, absolutely. Saves you a lot of heartache.
Yep.
All right. So Reggie, it sounds like there was another clip that you found that was extraordinarily low EQ behavior. Holy smokes.
Whew. Yes, I haven't seen. I know we just started the podcast, but just in like sourcing this content over these last several weeks, this month, I don't think I've seen anything as low EQ.
We need to do a low EQ award.
Man,
low EQ clip of the year.
Yeah, like donkey of the day. Yeah, I got you.
Read my girl's mind. What's up? I'm fine. Cool. I'll play some video games, or go work on some business and make some money, or go to the gym and train. And then when I come back 3 days later, and you're like, remember that? You had a fucking chance. I sit her down and I say, what's wrong? If she says nothing, I walk away and I stop trying, because my job is not to read your mind like a genie. My job is not to consistently ask and beg like a little puppet. My job is to ask, give you the room to communicate, and it is your job to communicate said problem. If I ask you what's wrong and you say I'm fine or nothing's wrong, that better be the case. Because if you bring it up 3 days later, you're gonna get met with a stone wall. I gave you an opportunity.
In my opinion, he's highlighting his lack of social awareness and relationship management skills. In a like very logical way, he's approaching an emotion-based conversation with his wife as if it's supposed to operate on a strict schedule and can only be discussed at his availability and within his time frame, like as if he's a Krispy Kreme and only when the hot sign is on that you could come buy some donuts. So like
that's interesting. So in that clip he's laying out that you can only come and talk to me, like bring up these vulnerable, you can only be vulnerable when like I'm prepared for you to be vulnerable kind of situation. What makes that low EQ behavior in a relationship? Like, what do you think is the impact? Because again, emotional intelligence is a skill that drives the best emotional outcomes in a situation. So if he's demonstrating low EQ behavior, that means that this action he's taking is going to generate the worst outcome. What's the worst outcome in a relationship? Break it up. Right. So if I'm understanding this right, like this advice, I mean, I don't even know, did he frame it as advice or was he just like sharing? I don't know. I don't know if
I haven't really watched too much of his other stuff, but yeah, to me, it came across as him sharing, but hey, you can take it as advice. Like, this is what worked for me, so to speak. And I feel like also looking at the comments, it's like, yeah, I do that too. That's, I agree. You know what I'm saying?
Low EQ cesspool.
Yeah. And so yeah, the low EQ-ness of it is just him just failing to recognize that, processing emotions is not something that's simple. It's not something, going back to, EQ being a high EQ being a skill set.
Yeah.
everybody's on different skill levels. So,
Yep.
Yeah, you may be able to process your emotions quicker than your wife, but understand that there's a difference there. There's a natural difference.
Yeah.
It may take her a little bit longer to process her emotions. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
so for her to come to him saying, or better yet, for her to feel a way about something,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, "Hey, what's wrong?" But then she doesn't say what's wrong. And then later on, she's ready to say what's wrong with her, but you're now not ready to listen to what she has to say. That's the epitome of low EQ. Based on what I've been learning from you.
Yeah.
And yeah, just also it's just a classic example of how emotional safety is destroyed
Mm-hmm.
and just ultimately erodes over time between two people. Like I said, you can only be vulnerable when I'm ready for you to be vulnerable. Well, now I don't want to come to you to talk about stuff if if you're going to make it such a strict schedule and have all these constraints on when I can come to you when I'm feeling down about something.
You know what's interesting? As you're sharing this, I was thinking about, okay, well, is there another side to this, right? So,
Mm,
so and not to necessarily just reduce this man's behavior to just being like straight up low EQ behavior, but
right, right.
is there a point of let's say in that scenario again, like your lady upset but doesn't have the words yet, so she needs to process. So she processes
Yeah.
30 an hour later, and then
Hmm.
she's ready to share, but you're not ready. I think rather than starting with, well, no, I don't want to talk now. Instead, you should say, listen, I I need some time to process as well. I do want to talk to you though about what's going on.
Hmm.
When do you think makes the most sense for us to speak? And I can tell you right now, I may need a day or two, right?
Hmm.
So that way you're not necessarily creating this like strict schedule, but you're like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm not ready to receive your breakdown, right? I'm not ready to receive
Hmm.
your, your emotional kind of, story right now. So, cause you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Like
Yeah. Yep.
it takes two to tango, right? Like
Hmm.
he may not be ready, but the way in which he's communicating that he's not ready could be very low EQ,
Yeah. Hmm.
right? And so there's a way to say it, right? It's a way
Yep.
to say, hey, I understand that you're ready to speak. I understand that you're ready to share. I'm not prepared to listen as best
Yep.
as I could, but I
Yep.
want
Self
to listen,
awareness.
right? I want to listen. So can we talk about this in an hour? Or can we talk about this tomorrow? I definitely
Hmm.
want to talk to you about it though. Okay. So
Yeah.
that sort of meeting them where they're at, but also helping them see where you're at.
Yeah.
Co-regulation,
Exactly.
right?
Hmm.
That's how you cue. That's how you cue behavior.
Yep.
Okay. Well, folks, there you have it. That is our Respond versus React pod. We appreciate you guys checking this out. And if you find clips online that you're like, is this high EQ or is it low EQ? Send it our way. We will happily do a quick review of it. Reggie, any parting thoughts for you?
No, you hit the nail on the head right there. Engage with us. Like you said, we would love to keep these dialogues going. And yeah, just finding fresh new posts, examples, love to discuss it just to keep that keep the engine going
That's
and we
right.
can just continue sharpening our tool set.
There we go. Subscribe right now. And remember, react less and respond more. Peace.